Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about season 3, episode 2 of HBO Max's Titans, entitled Red Hood. This episode follows up on what I kind of touched on last week a little bit about the idea that I had an idea of the direction that this show was going, and they didn't waste any time getting there. I I actually like the fact that they revealed that Red Hood was Jason in the second episode, just because like I feel like this isn't something that you can prolong for the entirety of the season, which is what I thought they were gonna do. And I was not prepared to watch them fumble this reveal for fucking like 13 episodes or however many episodes they plan on doing. But we do find out at the end of this episode that the supposedly dead Jason Todd is in fact Red Hood. Red Hood opens up the episode by very quickly and easily taking command of the city. One of the many problems with this show is that it does kind of just fly through shit, and they don't spend a lot of time on anything, which makes me not care about anything. And one scene of Red Hood essentially taking over Gotham was like, okay, wow, that was really easy. I mean, he did kill a guy, but shit, I mean, that was super easy. But that's how we open up the episode. So I guess, and that does kind of give us the feel of like, okay, he's not to be messed with, right? This is a guy that came and showed up and convinced, I don't know how many people were at that table, at least a good 10 or so, 10 to 15 people at this table to essentially hand over Gotham to him. So that does present him as a formidable adversary, but it didn't pan out very well. There was a lot to not like about this episode. I think I'm gonna start. Let me look at my notes here. I think I'm gonna start with talking about the reveal itself. So I'm gonna start with the end of the episode. One of the problems that I had with this is that you wanna make sure that the audience can't guess who your masked person is, right? But at the same time, you want to make it so that it's feasible for the audience to guess it. Like, you don't want to give them a whole lot of clues that make no absolute sense and that are not tied to the actual reveal at all, like a bunch of red herrings, right? You want to like make it so that the audience can feel like they could have guessed it, or that the evidence was there for you to have guessed who this person was. And they started with that in the first episode by having Dick make the connection with the chemistry stuff, right? So, you know, we can look at like, okay, we saw him looking at the stuff with Jason, and then we see he had like a throwaway line like about something written on a chemistry page, I think in this episode. And they kind of started with that. But like the way they portray Jason Todd on this show up to this point is not a character that is smart enough to use chess strategy in his criminal strategy. The chess thing was like totally out of Jason Todd's wheelhouse. So was the chemistry. And they're like, you know, and Dick's calling it out, like, why would Jason be reading a chemistry book? And you got, like I said, Batman's dumbass and Batgirl's dumbass. Like, no, that's not a big deal. Don't worry about that. And it was a big clue, but at the same time, it's a big clue because that is so out of his character. And like, I don't know. I feel like if I didn't know that it was going to be Jason, I'd have been pissed at that reveal, because I'm like, this whole plan is way outside of this guy's wheelhouse. Like the whole bait and switch with these parents at this bank, the things with bird names, like this sounds dumb to even say it. Like these things with bird names, like all of this was simultaneously dumb but still too smart for Jason. I don't know why I'm being such a piece of shit to this guy, or this show, but I'm on this juice cleanse. I'm trying to lose weight for this wedding. I haven't eaten. I'm hungry as fuck. I don't know. Maybe I'm just maybe I'm being too hard. I'm not being too hard. This show's not very good. But yeah, the Jason Todd stuff, man, it just not feasible that this guy would come up with these sorts of plans. But like I said, I do like the fact that they revealed it in the second episode, because that gives them a whole lot of time to work with how they want to deal with the fallout. And how they want to possibly integrate other villains into this. You know, maybe they do like a half season arc, because Gotham did this a lot, where they would have like a half season arc, then go on a mid-season break, and then have a totally different arc for the second half of the season. Maybe they do something where they have like, you know, say let's just say hypothetically it's 12 episodes. You have 6 episodes where they're dealing with Jason as Red Hood, and then maybe on the back 6 episodes you maybe have something going on with Scarecrow, or they've mentioned Mr. Freeze a couple of times, like, maybe something like that. But speaking of Mr. Freeze, I'm not speaking of Mr. Freeze, speaking of Scarecrow, they introduced Scarecrow in this episode. He's played by Vincent Kartheiser, who I almost didn't recognize, but I kind of recognize his voice. I think he's one of those guys that, like, you don't look at him as like, oh, this has Vincent Kartheiser in it, like, yay. But like, he's been in so much stuff, and he's been working for so long that I bet if you pulled up his IMDb page, you'd go like, oh, okay, I've seen this guy in like 7 different things. He's done a lot of work. Like, I think he from childhood, he was in that Indie in the Cupboard movie from the 90s. As like the older brother, he looked like he was probably somewhere in the range of 13, 14 years old, maybe 15, 16, somewhere in that range, but like young teenager age. And then, but he's most well known for Mad Men. So if you've seen Mad Men, that's where you've seen Vincent Kartheiser. But they do something that, again, is irritating me about this show at this point. When Dick goes to Arkham to talk to, well, I don't know if he goes there for the purposes of talking to Crane, but I think it comes up. No, it's Barbara mentions that they've been using Crane to help them out. So then she suggests that he go talk to Crane. So he does go up there for the purpose of talking to Crane. And the first thing he says is like, hey, you got any weed? Like, who's writing this show? Like, is it like a bunch of fucking like 16-year-olds on meth in their garage? Like, why is Jonathan Crane like, yo, I'm trying to roll a joint. Like, you got some weed. Why the fuck would Dick Grayson have weed on him and give it to you? Like, why? And like this whole thing that this show does, where it masks its shitty writing behind shock value stuff, right? Having Robin swear, breaking people's arms and super over the top violence. I like that shit, but I don't like it in lieu of good writing and in lieu of like entertaining television. I want it to supplement. I don't want it to mask the shittiness. And like that just showed me that they're trying way too hard to be like, look how risque we are. Look at all the raunchy shit we got our characters doing. Look, Jonathan Crane's asking for weed on television. You ever see anybody ask for weed on television before? Like, I don't need that, man. Like, I don't need to hear about that. And again, I don't mind it at all. Like, I kind of enjoy that kind of stuff. But when it's on top of like all these other things that I'm talking about, it just makes it so that you could tell that they're pushing the risque stuff as like almost like this is a valued aspect of this show, when you should never hang your hat on how much your characters swear, or like just on shock value in general, like superheroes swearing, cursing, doing drugs. Like, I don't care about any of that, but that shouldn't be your go-to. Like, this is the hallmark of your show, is how raunchy your superheroes are. There needs to be something there. Look at The Boys. Like, The Boys is fucking incredible. But and they swear and it's violent and all that kind of stuff, and it's awesome. But it's awesome because there's so many other things that make it great. It's not awesome because the characters curse or because it's violent. And that stuff adds onto it. It's like the cherry on top. It's awesome in general, but then you get super over the top violence, and it's like, okay, this just makes it even better. But this show, that's all it has. And it's like, you get him up here and he's like, yeah, he's like talking about like, I needed to have this much THC in it. And I'm like, who are you trying to appeal to? Are you trying to appeal to like 16-year-old suburban white boys in their garage getting high? Like, is that what this is? Is that who this show is for? So you can be like, oh shit, bro, look, man, Scarecrow just asked for weed, bro. Like, that's what this feels like. And I don't care about that shit, man. Like, come on. But I do have high hopes for Vincent Kartheiser in this role because he is a really good actor. So I hope that they do I do hope that they continue this kind of like Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter thing with him, and that eventually he escapes and causes his own trouble. But they did introduce that character, and by and large, I am excited to see what Vincent does with it. But a lot's going to rely on episode 3 because I don't see myself finishing this show. Like I told you guys in episode 1, I said, like, I'm going to watch these first 3. I'll do videos for these first 3, and then I'll decide if I'm going to continue. The probability of me continuing is very small at this point. And then episode 3 is called Hank and Dove, and it's about them two motherfuckers. I'm probably not even going to like that shit either. And that's That's another issue I have. I have a lot of issues with this episode. Another issue I have with this episode, we bring back in Hank and Dawn, and Hank and Dawn's relationship is far and away the least interesting aspect of this show. Minka Kelly is so fucking hot, and I don't understand why she was given like the least interesting role and relationship on this show. I don't care about these two at all. Like, they should just be their own separate characters. Like, their whole relationship and all that, I do not care. And they blow through that really fast, right? Like, they have it out in Wayne Manor. He says the horrific fucking if you're gonna dove, I'm gonna hawk line, which is, I don't know if they're gonna be able to have a worse line than that, but that might be my motivation for continuing this show, is to tally up how many shitty lines they have in each episode. Like, these are terrible lines. Like, I don't know. It's gonna be tough to be worse than that. But there was a scene later where everyone's fighting in like this warehouse, and they're playing this goofy up tempo music, and like they're all saying like dumb lines. Like Dawn said something stupid, like something like, "Were you born stupid, or you become like something dumb like that?" And then Hank says something like, "You're the world's biggest douche bird." I'm like, oh my God. Like, seriously, who is writing this? Like, is it really like 16-year-olds? Because I'm like, this is so bad. Like, these lines are awful, man. Like, oh my God. I literally groaned when he said douche bird. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I didn't think it could get worse than if you're gonna dove, I'm gonna hawk. And I don't know if douche bird is worse, but right now Hank is 0 for 2 with two huge, terrible fucking lines. So, yeah, well, man, the idea of having an episode that primarily focuses on those two is just like, I don't even want to fucking watch it. But I am gonna watch it. I'll record a video on it. But I have a couple more things I want to address on this episode, and then we're gonna wrap it up. So, I did like, so I did mention that I do, even though I don't like how he was introduced, I do like Vincent Kartheiser as Jonathan Crane. I do want to see where they go with that. I also like the scene where the lady killed herself in the police station, like the telephone call, and even though it like the explanation for it, this whole chemical thing was kind of like half-assed, but that's the kind of stuff I'm willing to suspend disbelief on when it comes to like comic book properties. You know, like that kind of like comic science where they just say some shit and it sounds scientific and you're like, okay, like I'm willing to do that here. So I wasn't mad about how somebody making a phone call to a telephone number will make her arm swell. God, this show is dumb. But when her arm started swelling up and then she like snapped her own neck, I thought that was fucking sweet. And then, like I said, I did also like the fact that they revealed Jason being the Red Hood fairly early in the season. I do have a couple thoughts real quick before I wrap up. We had no mention of Rachel in this episode. I'm working under the assumption that Rachel is somehow going to return with Donna alive somehow. I don't like that because I don't like when shows don't have stakes. And if you can kill a character and that character keeps coming back, why will I care when you kill other characters? So like if they bring Donna back and Jason's clearly still alive, like there's no stakes. So now if they kill off, they have some big dramatic moment where they kill off Gar, it's not gonna hit as hard if I don't believe that Gar is actually dead. If I'm sitting here like, well, they brought Donna back, they brought Jason back, why won't they bring Gar back? Like, you can't kill off characters for high stakes emotional moments and then bring that character back later. And the Donna thing was like a big deal last season. And they need to stay with that, but I feel like they're not. I feel like we're going to get Donna back. We're going to get Rachel back. So I'm already kind of resigned to that happening and being displeased with it probably. Depends on how they explain it. But it needs to happen sooner rather than later. Right now, the team feels too fractured. And the team's also bigger than I would like. I don't like these. And Berlanti does this shit on every fucking show he does, where it's like, hey, here's the Flash plus 18 other motherfuckers that are all on the same team. And it's like, you don't have to insert Wally and Bart and like all these other people, right? You can, but you don't have to. And especially when you've already got Harrison Wells and Cisco and Caitlin and Iris and Joe and fucking Elongated Man, like building these massive teams. It hurts your show when you can't have a central focus on a central character or small group of characters. When you have like this episode had 4 people in one location, 2 people in another location, and then we still have two people that are completely off the board altogether. So like they need to just bring these people back and just or keep or give us like a Rachel centric episode where like we completely leave whatever's happening in Gotham and we spend a whole episode with whatever Rachel's doing and then bring her back. That could work. But I mean, we clearly have children writing this show, so who knows? And then the other thought is I feel like they need to put a little bit more focus on whatever's happening with Corey, because I find this stuff to be a little bit, I find what's happening with her to be fairly interesting. I like the fact that she has no recollection of what she does when it goes into these trances or whatever. So I feel like they need to do more than just give us one scene of that per episode. I feel like we need to spend a little bit more time with that. And now that they've already resolved, I mean, they haven't resolved the Red Hood situation, but they've resolved the whodunit aspect. Now they can focus a little bit more on what's going on with her. So, I mean, there's still an opportunity to turn this ship around. Like, you know, it's not like, you know, every show starts off where it's like every episode of every season is fire. Like you might have a couple of, you know, duds where you're trying to like build up to something big. And, you know, maybe that's what they're doing here. You know, we now know Jason is Red Hood. You know, now let's handle the Rachel thing. Let's bring her back. Let's focus on whatever's going on with Corey. And now we can focus on actually dealing with Red Hood as opposed to like the actual, as far as the writing of the episode goes, the who is Red Hood aspect. Now we can get rid of that and we can focus on how we're going to deal with it. So there's potential to turn it around, but with a Hank and Dove episode next, I don't know if it's happening in episode 3, but I'll see because I'm probably going to watch it right now. I'm not going to drop the video today. I'm going to drop it tomorrow. Today's the 17th. I'll drop it on the 18th along with, I'm going to be starting this Hulu show. I think it's called 9 Perfect Strangers. I'll be dropping that on Thursday because I'll be watching it Wednesday. But with Dave being over, I don't believe I have a Wednesday show. Oh, What If? I'll be doing whatever episode 2 of What If is. I'll be covering that tomorrow as well. So look for What If episode 2 on the feed tomorrow, as well as episode 3 of Titans. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.